All right, Texans season is over. It is a locker room number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. You can see me here throughout the week. You can also hear me and see me on SNL. Subscribe to that channel as well. Myself and Cody Stutes, best individuals in the game, best duo in the game for my money. So let's just hop right in. DeMeco Ryans, we'll try to hear from him in a second. We'll try to hear from CJ in a second, but there's a couple of things that I just want to hop into immediately, and I'll just say, like, this thing I think is summarized with two different types of disappointment. I think if you're looking at this game and we're talking about why the Texans lost, I think there's two different types of disappointment. I think there's expected and I think there's unexpected types of disappointment. The expected disappointment is this offense is just an absolute dumpster fire. And the crazy thing is, if you actually look at the production and you look at how they were playing, they really gave you about as much as you could realistically expect. And I often use Vegas as a reference. Collins had about what his production was expected to be. Mechie was up there with his production. Hutchinson surpassed his production. And Dalton Schultz surpassed his production. So on offense, you pretty much got everything that you were expected to get. And just to put in perspective just how crazy this is, and we'll try to get to the what, and that's where you might get the unexpected and expected kind of colliding. But this was a stat by ESPN. The Texans, with this loss, they become the first team in NFL postseason history to outgain their opponent by 100 yards, have 0 turnovers, and lose. Prior to the Texans, teams were 49-0 in such games. So NFL on ESPN says mind blown. Let's try to limit the brain damage and the mind blown and try to figure out how that happens. How do you surpass all this production and find a way to lose a game? There's a number of ways. It starts first with something that's been elite for a long time, even before DeMeco Ryans. It starts with special teams. The special teams performance was absolute ass. F-, pathetic in every area. From the kicking, Ka'imi Fairbairn sucked. He didn't want to be out there. I know he's been struggling lately. He was freezing his ass off. He wasn't even trying to move around. He was bundled up like someone that just fell off the damn Titanic. Had that thing over his mouth. He wanted no part of this. The kick coverage right off the top, embarrassing. And then you have Chris Boyd. You have Chris Boyd immediately. Not only do they allow a long return, Chris Boyd leaves the field celebrating or whatever the hell he's doing, throws his helmet, and then pushes Frank Ross. After a 60-yard return, add 15 on the penalty. Tommy Townsend shaked a punt. You had a missed extra point. You settled for a 55-yard field goal. You missed the hell out of that. The kickoffs were short. Special teams were complete ass today. They were terrible. So that's part one of how you become the first team in NFL history to not turn the ball over, outgain your opponent by 100 yards, and still lose a game. That's part one. That's surprising. That's an unexpected disappointment. Unexpected. That. Then you talk about the refereeing. And it just is what it is. I am not someone who criticizes officials. 90% of the time, I am the one saying the refs, I don't see how the refs cost them the game. But we know what happens when you play the Kansas City Chiefs. It happened last time. This was one of the most embarrassingly officiated games that I've ever seen. You gave the Kansas City Chiefs 3 points after the Texans forced them 3 and out. You called roughing the passer on Will Anderson. Patrick Mahomes, who is an absolute bitch, honestly, and I like Patrick Mahomes. I think he seems like a good dude, and he, in my opinion, at his best, is the best quarterback that I've seen. Like when he's at his best and he knows how to find ways to win, he's a chump. Because you lose the whole, hey, we're getting favorable officiating when you're flopping around like him, when you're running around knowing that they can't hit you, acting like you're going to go down, then going down and all that type of stuff. That was embarrassing. I saw Stool Presidente said the same stuff. That was embarrassing by Patrick Mahomes. He's a native Texan. I like Patrick Mahomes. I followed Patrick Mahomes for a long time. He's a chump. And the referees gave the Chiefs 10 points today. Chiefs probably still win. They're well coached on offense. The Texans are poorly coached. They have a really good defensive coordinator. The Texans have a good defensive coordinator. They know how to win. The Texans don't know how to win. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Chiefs won because of the refs. And I always think that's a weird way to get into stuff. Well, they didn't lose because of that. No, they didn't, but they had no chance because of it, despite that. So that's expected, though. That's expected with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs get the calls. Period, point blank, end of story. The Kansas City Chiefs get the calls. So that's expected, okay? You don't expect the special teams to be total ass. You expect the refs to be ass. So that's expected, unexpected, how you become the first team in history to lose a game in this manner. We'll get to the rest in a sec. Let's go to the Super Chats first. Shout out to everyone for coming through, swarming the Super Chat.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Zinister says, why the hell did Shaq Mason take the field? The old man Schultz cost us another game with missed blocks. Kaimi chokes in big moments, and WTF Chris Boyd. I don't know what the deal is with Shaq Mason. Like, I think there's certain guys that when they get hurt, they automatically get their spot back, no matter how you're playing. Nico Collins, you missed 5 weeks, go back in there. Laremy Tunsil, you're hurt, go back in there. Azeez Al-Shire, 3-week suspension, go ahead and get back out there. Christian Harris, you've been out for a while, let's get you some snaps. Shaq Mason has been ass all season long. He's been horrible all season long. So I don't know why Shaq Mason, of all people, especially with the way the offensive line has gone. By the way, most pressures allowed this season with Shaq Mason out there. I think at worst, Shaq Mason should have been a emergency type of guy. Emergency. Or at best for him. But Shaq Mason going back out there, I don't get it. I asked the question at halftime. I asked it on Twitter. How does Shaq Mason look? Same, worse, or better? Let's read these comments. Same, terrible, hot garbage, same old bleep. The question should be, what are the chances he's benched for Scruggs coming out of half? Didn't happen. Same, which is not ideal. He got better at being bad. Like, I don't know why Shaq Mason was back out there. So I have no idea. Dalton Schultz, he's not going to block. And you watch the Kansas City Chiefs tight ends, they were nudging. I mean, there was one time where they chipped Daniil Hunter, number 83. He chipped him and kind of threw him off. Dalton Schultz doesn't chip. He did get hip drop tackle too, and he noticed that. But we don't expect that from Dalton Schultz. And then Kaimi, terrible. Chris Boyd, absolute loon, which might be what makes him a good special teams player. ESG Soccer, CJ bailed out with high schoolers at wide receiver and O-line. Fairbairn trash. He pooped down his leg. The saltiness about the bias ref is breaking containment from X. Yeah, I want to get to CJ in a second too, because I don't know that he's necessarily off the hook. Rob says, what's your immediate reaction to the 4th and 10 with 5 seconds left on the play clock? Well, I'll get right into it. This offense is a disaster. And this goes to the expected. So we've talked about the unexpected, the special teams, the expected, the refs. This is the expected. This offense, when they need to function like a big boy offense,
Damn it, Bobby.
they are clueless. So even when you get the production from your guys, even when you outgain a team by 100 yards and don't turn the ball over, you still become the first team in NFL history to lose a game. You know why? Because when it comes to big boy football and being an organized offense, they're not capable. And I'll give you 3 specific examples of that to prove to you why this happens. And a lot of it comes down to red zone. A lot of it comes down to situational football. When the Texans defense needs to come up big in the red zone, they're in place, they're in position, they get the job done more times than not. And if they don't get the job done, it's not because the players were in the wrong position, it's because they don't make a play. The Travis Kelce touchdown with Patrick Mahomes falling down. Alshire was exactly where he was supposed to be, but he wasn't looking back. That's not on the coaches, that's on the players. Offense, you can question the players, but the coaches also have no pulse of what the fuck they're doing. And I don't know that the quarterback does either. And I'll give specific examples of that. 3 of them. And this is expected. So we've talked unexpected, the special teams, expected, the referees, and we're back to expected on offense. Into the first half, the Texans are trailing by 2 possessions. You know how scarce scoring opportunities are with this Texans offense. They take it down to the 2-minute warning with 3 timeouts. On the very first play after that 2-minute warning, CJ Stroud throws an absolute dime to John Mechie, who, by the way, had moved the chains earlier on 3rd down. It was a really good drive for John Mechie. They get down to the 25-yard line. They don't snap the ball until 41 seconds later, and they run a run. So they're in no hurry, and they have no interest at scoring. No interest. You got one of the best defenses in the league. You're down 2 possessions. Yes, you get the ball at half. You're not a good enough offense to depend on that, although they put together a good drive in the second half. But you're going to need points. They have no interest in trying to score. They run the ball. They take 40 seconds off the clock, and they run the ball. Then they go back, and they get sacked. Then they go back, and they get a hold. They should have been up-tempo in that situation, doing every damn thing they could that they could do to score. And I hear people saying, well, you know, Patrick Mahomes is on the other side. This is not the Chiefs' offense that we've known. Patrick Mahomes didn't throw for over 200 yards. You have one of the best defenses in the league. You need to score. They had no interest, and they settled for a field goal. Unfortunately for them sitting there playing grab ass and patty cake didn't result in them missing a field goal, because it's even weirder to settle for a field goal in that situation. How often do the Texans get down to the 25-yard line? And you get down to the 25-yard line, and when you get down to that 25-yard line, you just decide that you're gonna take your time. That's example number 1 of this offense.
Damn it, Bobby.
Then you have example 2, and this goes back to the situational stuff. Then you have example 2. You're going for the tie. You're down 8 points. Now, you should be moving somewhat fast, but you're going for the tie. It's 4th and 10. Right decision to go for it. Regardless of the result, it was the right choice to go for it. Why does it seem like everybody was surprised by that choice? Like, immediately, as soon as Nico Collins catches that pass, you should automatically know, okay, this is 4-down territory. The announcer said it. Everybody said it. You could go from 0 alcohol consumption to 20 beers deep, and you're saying this is 4-down territory. Why in the hell does the offense seem surprised by that decision? And you snap the ball right as the play clock's going to where they don't even have to disguise their blitz. And you know they're blitzing. Everybody except Bobby Slowick knows they're blitzing. Everybody. They've been showing that same stuff for 7 years. Everybody knows it. And once again, Joe Mixon, not involved in the pass game. 2 catches for him. But they don't even know that they're doing that. So that's example number 2. Even when you're getting max production in the important situations, you function like a grab-ass peewee football, not even peewee, flag football offense. This is the equivalent of T-ball. You ever watch a T-ball game where kids are just running around, picking their nose, farting, picking grass? And then you watch this flag football where the kids are doing the same thing. Bobby Slowick should go coach that. Because that's the first 2 examples. Then we have the final example, and this is where I don't know if we can give CJ Stroud a bulletproof vest on this. You're down 2 possessions. You've just gotten the ball inside Kansas City territory. You complete a pass with 15 seconds left or whatever it was to Nico Collins out of bounds. You have 2 timeouts left. You should probably be taking shots at the end zone because you want the 2 timeouts and you want the 2-point conversion. That's what you should probably be doing. Unless you want to try to recover an onside kick, which I think there's like a 7% chance this year that you recover an onside kick. After they stop the clock at 2:15, 2:14, they throw a slant. Guy gets tackled, and they line up again to run a play. No time on the play clock once again. You don't have to disguise. The guys get the perfect jump, and C.J. Stroud gets sacked. Loses yardage. What are you doing? What are you doing? And then this is where it really got discouraging for me. And I appreciate everyone for coming through. We'll hear from C.J. Stroud in a second. Shout out to Eddie on the soup. Shout out to Logan. Yes, the announcers did call the BS calls. Ray Charles called out those BS calls. Anyone could see those. But after this third blunder on offense, go back and watch it. Because this was hard for me to watch. This was hard for me to watch. Because it's easy to blame Bobby, and I think Bobby deserves some blame.
Damn it, Bobby.
But go back and watch the sack on the 2-minute warning. I need to really look at it and make sure. But it looks like CJ's on the turf trying to call timeout. So they're late to get to the line of scrimmage. It's the final play before the 2-minute warning. And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, or you can go back and watch it. It looks like your quarterback is trying to call a timeout on the final play before the 2-minute warning where the clock stops. This offense is lost. We knew this is how the season ended in some way, shape, or form. Now, did you think it was going to be historic to the point where I bring this up again? Did you think it was going to be historic? Perhaps not. But we had an idea how this season ended with the offense. When you maximize the expected production, the roster, yes, disaster. The offensive line sucks, absolutely. But those types of opportunities where you're coaching guys up, if there are going to be flaws, you got to take advantage of them. And your quarterback's got to know the situation too. It's a tough one. You might not have caught it. Go back and look. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was playing with his hand. But it looks like he's trying to call a timeout there. Not great. David says, CJ balled out, man, hop off Mahomes. Don't know what that means. He balled out. Gotcha. Okay. Eric says 3 of KC scoring drives should have been punts, but the refs bailed them out. Despite that, we had a chance to win the game. We shot ourselves in the foot too many times, and KC did. In fact, you know why? Because Andy Reid knows the situation. Andy Reid understands situations. And when Andy Reid's offense isn't moving, he gets some help from other areas. He has better players. And they all know what the situation is. So that's what that is. But it was about expected and unexpected, to go back to it. Special teams, unexpected. Refs, offense, expected. Also expected the defense to ball out. And that's what they did once again. Defense did their thing. They played good enough to win. We kind of knew how this ended. But it's a historic loss when you put it that way. Andy says, let's be clear, Texans didn't lose this game due to the refs. But you can tell there's clearly a narrative to helping KC, but we got some fixing to do. Yeah, the chances are the Texans lose this game. The chances are they lose this game no matter what. But let's just be serious. the refs helped the cause in the KC area. We know that. Chase says DeMeco has to decide, is he about winning or keeping relationships? Slowick and probably the whole offensive staff needs to go. Yeah, look, they need to evaluate the offense in some way, shape, or form by any means necessary. They need to evaluate the offensive line. I'm amazed that they think Shaq Mason plays good. I don't know how that is. But they need to evaluate that. They need to evaluate the personnel, and they need to evaluate the way in which they function, because it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And it's not the way that DeMeco runs his defense. So he's got to figure that out. T, shout out to you. You were on pregame. They weren't just bad. They were momentum effing calls, embarrassing. Also missed the hold on Hunter. Yeah, I mean, it was as bad as it gets. Those calls were as bad as it gets. We all saw it. They were bad. Really, really bad. LXCID_illusions. Bad way to end the season, but you and Cody have made the season a joy to watch. Some questionable things need to be addressed in the offseason, as in our O-line problems being the main focus. Special teams and bad O-line is what mainly lost us the game. Fact. Absolute fact. And I appreciate you very, very much. Very, 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 very much. Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that at all. ESG soccer again. No way. Black Amino CJ today. Osama bin Slowick and Trash OL was beautiful, brutal. 8 sacks is insane. Still Miami killed us. Yeah, he was terrible. Didn't want any part of that cold. David White says NFL is rigged, brother. Crazy how that safety at in happens out of nowhere. I got him an 8. But I can understand what you're saying. Black Eighth Element. I'm not blaming the refs, but you can't seriously say they didn't affect the game in key moments. No, nobody like in their right mind should be able to say that. And I mean, I see some guys that I really respect, including Carrington Harrison at 6'10" in KC, one of the better radio hosts in the country. Talk about like that's a normal call with Mahomes. It's not. So like if you ever get to a point where it's that, like I wouldn't want to sacrifice my integrity and my dignity to defend those types of calls. That was just awful. And I mean there were multiple calls. There was the roughing the passer. There was the personal foul. There was a bad Hutchinson spot, and then the same ref made a favorable spot to Kansas City. The dumbass at the top. It was bad all the way around. Kevin Smith says it is what it is. Shout out to you, my friend. I want to be mad, but I just can't at this point. More of a defeated feeling. Miami overhyped and overpaid. Bobby and the entire offensive staff needs to go and rebuild the offense. You and Stutes held it down all year. And y'all are my go-to. We should be. There's nowhere else you need to go. And I'll try to get Cody in here in a sec, trying to get a hold of Stutes. Nick Crawford says refs effed us. Third down, touch Mahomes flag. I don't know about the offense flags because they didn't show us. They showed the plays that didn't count. Wish the refs stayed out of it. It would be, yeah. And you might have lost anyways. Autocorrect iPad is horrible. Don't worry about it, man. What do we do with Bobby? Keep or stay? Look, the way in which he performed at the end of that second quarter, where there was no hurry to score, that 2-minute warning or that snap on 4th and 10, where they didn't even know what they were doing, and then the final play of the 2-minute warning, where CJ Stroud was trying to call timeout. By the way, he doesn't know what he's doing either. Let's not be unrealistic. Like, if I would have never seen that, it would be easy to just talk about Bobby. CJ was trying to call a timeout. Or he was doing something really weird. It looked like he was trying to call a timeout. Sinister, thanks for the season coverage, Lanny. Hopefully Cal and Hannah make a call to remove Bobby and find us some offensive help. Cal and Hannah don't need to make calls. DeMeco needs to make the call. DeMeco's the one that calls. He's the one that calls the shots. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the one that needs to get the job done. So we've covered those 3 things. I'm going to bring Stutes on in a sec. He's on the scene. But again, bad special teams play. And Chris Boyd, what are you doing, weirdo? Bad special teams play. Bad officiating. A disorganized offense. And Azeez Al-Shaair in coverage. Let's just be honest. If he's in the right place in coverage a couple times, there's a chance that this game changes too. He was in the right area. He had his back turned. He wasn't even looking at Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce had the longest reception of his career, and he was able to take advantage. Azeez Al-Shaair in coverage was a complete liability today. I know he's a fan favorite, big part of this team, but that was a big part of why they lost. The defensive blunders were Al-Shaair. Biggest plays of the game were him. The Kelce long gain that set up their first score or second, whichever it was. And then the one where Mahomes is falling down and finds him. Cody Stutes is here. Stutes, what's up?
Boy, what a putrid, piss-poor performance from a team that felt like at different times they had enough to get this done, and then they go, and you've heard the shoot yourself in the foot category. Like, this is kicking themselves in the nuts category. Like, forget shoot yourself in the foot. Like, they decapitated their whole lower body. Like, they cut themselves in half with the mistakes they made. And you knew it was going to be an iffy performance from the opening kickoff, where they just get a huge return, and then Chris Boyd, dude, get him out of here. Go find another jersey next season, bud. Go find another jersey. Go get pissed off at another group of people that don't want to talk to you after a game. I bet he was persona non grata post-game. Awful. Awful by him. You talked about Azeez. Mental mistakes. Like, you got the physical ability to make the plays. I don't know how the guy who literally figuratively wears the gold jacket on the field. It's one of the greatest tight ends of all time. I don't know how you lose him. Like, they run a blitz. You know the safety's running. When you see the safety in front of you, maybe go find 87. And then he overplays it later in the zone, and Kelce's got one of the easiest touchdowns all year. He just stops, turns around, ball's right there. Mahomes nearly got sacked. Shot themselves in the foot would be an understatement. They took a bazooka to their lower half. Had enough, and then got in their own way. The Texans, DeMeco Ryans said after the game, it was us against everybody, including the guy in the mirror. The Texans had to play the Chiefs, the Texans had to play the refs, and then the Texans had to play the Texans. And all three of those teams kicked the Texans' ass.
Yeah. And I just don't know, you're not going to overcome all the self-inflicted wounds, as well as the ones that you can't really control. A lot of times there's like a tendency. I know the local media is probably going to try to play this up. I saw a quote from DeMeco. We'll hear from DeMeco in a second. This team fought, and I'm proud of this team. I don't get that feel from this team. Like, I don't sit there and say, oh yeah, this was a magical season and they really left it all out there. Maybe the defense, but I don't find myself like, maybe last year I could do that. I don't feel that for this squad. I'll just be honest about it.
You shouldn't. That's a loser mentality. Oh, good season. Oh, no, they went out there and beat themselves in addition to helping the Chiefs beat them. If they don't make the boneheaded mistakes, and DeMeco Ryans, it's mental. The Travis Kelce plays. If you take those two Kelce plays off the board, the touchdown and the 49 yards, you probably beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's just two plays. We can go through a laundry list of plays. And my God, this offensive line, they make me fucking sick. It's pathetic. The effort with which they play sometimes, it's been 2 seconds. Hands off like it's fucking hot potato. And Dalton Schultz, my God. I was so wrong about him. I thought that was the only thing they could do in the offseason at tight end and make this thing work. Just a turnstile. And that's an embarrassment to turnstiles.
He doesn't even try to chip. Like there were times it's weird because there's a lot of things that stick out over the course of a game. But like I found myself fascinated by just watching 83, 87, like all the Chiefs tight ends. There's at least like a nudge in the chest of like I saw Daniil Hunter actually got thrown off one time, just a little nudge. And I looked at like a basic chip, and I might as well have seen fucking Bigfoot walking across the field. And then climbing into a UFO with Santa Claus when I saw a basic chip, because all I watch it really for the most part is the Texans. Like all I pay attention to closely, like that chip might as well have been Bigfoot and Santa Claus getting into a UFO, because Dalton Schultz doesn't even attempt to do that. There is not even an effort to try to chip any of the defensive ends or anything like that. It's not even in his train of thought to think about chipping.
Wet paper puts up a better resistance than Dalton Schultz when it comes to blocking. It's awful. It's awful. And it's magnified by the fact that he looks like he moves in slow motion, which is something you've brought out. And you know what? The mentality, the whole approach, the whole packaging of everything, it's bad from Dalton Schultz. 86 holds this team back. 86 holds this team back. And then Landry, I was looking at just clicking through some of the post-game stuff, and then he's like, well, they made plays too. Oh, yeah? They made Karlaftis made a play when you didn't touch him. Yeah, they did make plays. When you didn't get in their way, they made play. To act like they made plays is the reason you lost is sickening.
Why was Shaq Mason back in the starting lineup? Like, I really want to try to understand this. By the way, this is the most pressures that the Texans have allowed all season long, and this is one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. You said this to me. You talked about me being right. I want to give you your credit, because for the last 2 weeks, we've said at practice, and we've said, okay, Shaq Mason's not practicing. And you said, and I made fun of you multiple times, you said, I want to see if Shaq's out there. And I said, for what? What the hell do I need to see Shaq Mason for? They have a new offensive line. These guys aren't good, but they're trying to find their functioning. So who cares if Shaq Mason's practicing? What the hell does that matter? He's like a backup at best, right? Like they're talking about how much they like the way this offensive line is doing. So Cody, like why should I care about Shaq Mason? And you said to me, because they're dumb enough to put him back out there. That's a direct ass quote to you. You said they're dumb enough to put him back out there. And me, despite the fact that I kind of know this and I know how they function, despite that, I kind of dismissed it and just said, no way. Not even these guys who release the guys they release, start the guys they start, release guys they release, sign the guys they sign, keep these lingerers around, suck at developing and evaluating an offensive line. Not even these guys will be stupid enough to, when Shaq Mason, who was already moving poorly, has a knee injury, they're just going to set him out there in a playoff run. You were right. I thought this was one of the dumbest functioning offensive staffs that I've ever seen, and I overestimated them, because they're even dumber than that. I did not think in my right mind that Shaq Mason would just be stuck back on the field in a playoff game against Chris Jones and company. I was wrong.
They did exactly that. And here's the damnedest thing about the Shaq Mason situation. He misses plays not because he looks like he's too slow, not strong enough, and out of shape. He misses plays because he doesn't know what to do. He lets guys roll right past him on a consistent basis. And then they ask him to pull from the right guard spot over to go make a block
on third down
on the left side.
Third down.
The whole blocking scheme is a joke. They've got to gut that thing. they've got to change as many offensive linemen as they can without drastically affecting their ability to do other things. And it is pathetic that Juice Scruggs and this offensive line has 2 fine performances, and then they put Shaq Mason right back in there. And I get that the opponent is a better opponent. Like, I understand the Kansas City Chiefs are better than the Los Angeles Chargers. But the Chargers don't suck. The Chargers can still rush the passer. The Chargers got a lot of guys they can throw at you. And they made one swap, and the offense fell apart late. And you know what? I would think a guy that maybe hadn't played for a month probably gets a little tired in the third and fourth quarter, on top of already being out of shape.
There is no counter to the pressure either. There's no counter. Like, there's no counter. There's no counter to that.
He's lost.
What were they trying to do at the end of the first half? Were they trying to settle for a field goal? I don't know. Like, what is going on? Like, do you have, that was weird. They don't know. I don't know that CJ really knows what's going on, which might be a coaching thing or might be a him thing. Did you see him trying to call timeout at the end of the game?
Dude, their inability to communicate what exactly needs to happen. Again, team that lives in the margins, you can't make mistakes like this. And they constantly make the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over again. And DeMeco Ryans, that's on you at the end of the first half. Heard you talk about it. That's on DeMeco Ryans. He needs to look at Bobby Slowick and he needs to say, pedal to the metal, points on the board. Trust our guys. If we don't get points, we do something dumb, we create a turnover, defense will take care of us. Let's go. Let's go get 7. Let's not settle for 3. Let's go get 7. Or 6, because the kicker can't make a freaking extra point.
Man, he didn't want to be out there. I know that body language.
What a disaster. What an absolute disaster.
I know that he struggled at the end. I know that body language. He did not want to be in that cold. He did not want to be in that cold. You see how bundled up he was?
Has he made any pressure kicks in his life besides Buffalo,
Tennessee
earlier this year?
Tennessee last year.
Okay.
He
misses the field goal against Baltimore last year, misses the field goal today, which probably shouldn't have been kicking it at 55 yards in the wind. Misses the extra point. Like, damn near screwed you against the Colts last year.
Anthony 556 says defense did great against the receivers. Kelsey just kept open. Yeah, I mean, he got open. Azeez Al-Shire helped the cause a little bit. Yeah, I thought the defense did fine. It was a good enough effort. I mean, that was the one problem, but the defense did fine. They bailed you out. I need some of that high grade with the way this season ended. I think you'd probably need it even if they'd won.
High grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
Nothing wrong with that. Bo says, are we locked into this O-line contract wise? Will we have too much cap hit by getting rid of Mason and others? It's not a great contract situation. There are a couple young guys, so we'll see how that goes. MH We Nation says that was ugly. David, not going to lie, though, you and Stoots' coverage kept me grounded all season, so this heartbreak doesn't hurt as much as it should. We knew this was how it was going to end. It's just the first team in NFL history to outgain an opponent by 100, not score a touchdown, not turn the ball over and lose. That's kind of historic. Shane says, don't know if anyone's mentioned it, but the moment I saw Shaq Mason warming up at the starters, I knew we were losing. It was discouraging. Anthony 556, Schultz just lets them run through. Yeah, it's bad. Kevin says Dalton showed us this season what Dallas saw in him.
Well, it's not a contract year, so he can't put in max effort.
Geo Central OL was bad, but CJ needs to check it down. I don't know that there's even options to check it down either. But yeah, Joe Mixon 2 catches today. I don't know.
I know you'll play the press conferences at some point. You know what CJ said? Yeah, there weren't answers sometimes. There weren't answers. There weren't answers to some of the things the Chiefs gave us. Like, well, that's Bobby. That's Bobby and the lack of talent. Like, that's not a CJ problem. Yeah, sometimes it's a CJ problem. Sometimes CJ holds on to the ball too long. Sometimes he sees it and doesn't rip it. Like he's got to just do.
There was one where Pierce was wide open in the middle of the field and he took a sack. Like
and then they redid and then they ran the replay, and Aikman's like, yeah, he probably should have hit Collins, and I'm like, Troy, Damien's right there. What are you talking about? Hit Collins.
O-line killed CJ and got him hurt. Yeah, there's a lot of things. There's not just one. Mark Sanchez says that game was rigged as clear as day. I mean, the refs didn't hurt.
Incredible in performance by the Texans to play their part in the rigging.
R. Harrell says coaching staff is the problem. They never put the best product on the field, and it always takes someone getting hurt. Where was Harris? Harris is probably a little bit more.
Christian Harris wasn't winning this game for him. Like, tired of this Christian Harris like he's some savior, like he's going to be Dick Butkus to come in there and change the game.
Let's hear from DeMeco.
He's not Lawrence Taylor, guys.
You want to hang around and talk to DeMeco, or you got some stuff to do?
I'm going to go work on some stuff, and then I'll be live when you're done.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya. I'll still be pissed, too.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are.
Our team with. I'm proud of our guys. Good year. Good to be here in this spot. Unfortunately, we didn't get it done today. Congratulations to the Chiefs. All right, they beat us today, right? And those guys deserve it. They did a really good job.
You touched on this after the disease and Trevor. Do you think the league needs to take a look at the late?
They don't have the mics up, so you'll have to bear with them.
Yeah, I've mentioned that before about the late slides. You know, some things are just unfortunate. Things are out of our control.
It's a joke.
But didn't go our way today.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's actually a disgrace to the game that Patrick Mahomes does that. He's too damn good to do that. The crap he's pulling and stuff, someone needs to knock his damn block off, honestly. Helmet to helmet, knock off, whatever it takes. If you're gonna disgrace the game like that, already a bad thing. And then the flop at the end when you get the favorable whistle, someone needs to knock his block off. And I like Mahomes, but it's a disgrace.
Yeah, we knew going into this game, man, it was us versus everybody. Right? When I say everybody, it's everybody, all of whatever, everybody, the naysayers, the doubt, right? Everybody we had to go against today. And, you know, going with that, knowing going into this game, what we were up against, we can't make the mistakes that we made, right? We had a lot of self-inflicted mistakes that happened, whether it's special teams, not converting our kicks, defensively, not being where we're supposed to be in coverage, all offensively, not protecting our quarterback and keeping them clean. So, you know, you marry that on top of everything else that we have to deal with. It's going to be a really tough uphill battle. As where we stand right now, like we had to be better. Obviously, we're not good enough to beat a really good football team, right? So when we can do the things we need to do consistently and all the time, that's when we'll be able to, you know, come here and be in this spot and win a football game. But unfortunately, like we still got things to clean up of our own.
It's true. I'm sure that was like a how proud are you of these guys type of thing, and he's not biting the hook on that.
Yeah, really proud of our offense for how we came out second half, drove the field, thought we ran the ball well. We had opportunities. We were making some good yardage in the run game, and we converted third downs. We needed
the first drive of the second half was the best drive of all season, and then Fairbairn killed the momentum, and that's a kick to the junk. When you should tie the game and you take 10 minutes off the clock with that drive, that was one of the best drives of the season, and Fairbairn pissed on it. Like he completely pissed on it. R. Kelly style, he pissed on it with the missed extra point. And then he went and bundled up. I think he was in a hurry to go back there and get his blanket over his head.
To convert, we pressed forward. We did a really good job. Proud of him for that. We just, you know, needed to do more towards the end when we had opportunities there and we needed to drive and needed to score. Just came up short.
DeMeco Ryans live after the Texans. We'll hear from CJ a little bit. More as well. I thought Pierce could have gotten involved a little bit more too. The two backs.
We don't make excuses for, you know, the injuries. Injuries happen to everyone, right? It's about
injuries aren't an excuse. This offense never functioned at a high level. So anyone who tried to throw him that softball about injuries, it doesn't work here. You weren't organized when you needed to be on offense, and the special teams were bad. There were no significant special teams injuries. So whoever tried to throw him that softball, I'm glad he's not taking it.
You overcome it. Can someone step up, right, and make those plays we need to make, right? But our guys battled throughout the entire year with different guys in the lineup, and we made the most out of what we had. There's mental miscues, right? I wish I had more for you. It's just mental miscues and coverage, things that we've done before. And unfortunately today, for some reason, in the biggest moment, we don't get it done.
Not good. Not good. Truth with E says fire Slowick and OL coach tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm walking out of here discouraged.
Thank you.
This one hurts.
Thank you.
Right? Because I
Are you encouraged? No. Thank you, DeMeco.
know we're a better football team than we showed today, no matter who we're playing against. Like, to go back and still have to talk about mistakes that we made in this moment, like, yeah, it's discouraging to be here because you got to be over that at this point in the playoffs, right? Postseason football, you got to be at your best. You got to be operating on all cylinders. And for us, like, we didn't do that today. So that's what I'm just discouraged about for sure.
Okay. Good for you, man. Should be.
How much of it would you say communication-wise? Because
Need to bite that hook.
got guys free.
Yeah.
So like, just didn't pick 'em up.
With the sacks, from what I saw, is first off, like, you're one-on-one. In the playoff, you got to win your one-on-one battles. That's what the game always come down to. Like, you have to man up and own your one-on-one. You have to have some pride in who you're blocking to get it done and give the quarterback a chance to throw the football.
What kind of happened when Chris Boyd played to start off? Video of him shoving Frank Ross. Just some what kind of happened?
With Boyd, what I saw is, we can't come out the first play and throw our helmet. Like, we understand that's silly, right? And that's not what we teach. That's not what we're about at all. So for us to be here at this moment and to throw our helmet, like, we know the rules and know we can't do that. And it just puts the team, right, in a negative light to start the game. Right? We give them a big return. We take our helmet off to add 15 more yards until the play. It's just not smart football.
What about the push? What about the push?
I did not see that.
Oh, he didn't see it. Okay. Yeah. Boyd might not be a Texan anymore. This might be his last game. He's a loon, man. It makes him good on special teams. He's not all there, though. I'll just be honest. He's not. He hadn't been for a while. Going back to when he tweeted at halftime, he wanted to.
For me, it's a frustration from all three phases, right? It's special teams, defense, and offense. So we didn't get it done. Again, congrats to Andy and the Chiefs, man. They deserve it. Right? They've done a great job over the past few years of being consistent, and that's why they've been champions, right? Because they consistently get the job done. No matter how the game goes, they find a way to close games out. So congrats to those guys and wish them the best moving forward.
He's going to be classy. On the soup, Anderson says Schultz was ridiculous, but Dari didn't help. What do you can't rely on Dari.
I don't feel like we're that far away. Like, these teams are in a whole different tier than us.
You don't think they're a whole different tier? Offensively, they are, sir. Like, it's if you're going to continue to function like you do on offense, and you're very well coached on defense, and you have 3 dogs on offense that can overcome a lot of things. We saw Nico make plays today. We saw CJ make some plays today. And we saw Mixon make plays today. But if you think you can function like this in offense and win these types of games, I got news for you. 365 days from now, we'll be having the same type of conversation at a different level. If you don't know how to function at the end of the 2-minute warning, when it's 4th and 10 and there's a surprise, and at the end of the 2-minute warning, you're far off. So if you think you can just run it back and function this way on offense, offensive line evaluating that way, it's a big offseason for you. But maybe you can make those changes. But if you're not going to make those changes, spoiler alert, it's going to be fun because I like talking about the squad. I like covering the squad. I like being the pulse of the squad. I like engaging with y'all. I like going to the building every day and talking. But you're going to be in this situation every year. If you're going to neglect what's going on that other side of the rock, you're very far away because you don't have a chance in hell. You might be able to gut out one every once in a while. Hell, you could have gutted this one out. You're eventually going to hit the wall if you function like that on offense. If that's your function at the end of the Green Bay game, where you run twice and then decide to throw and throw it out of bounds. This game, all the other type of stuff, all the penalties, all the dysfunction, not knowing what the situation is, your quarterback trying to call timeout after a 2-minute warning, not knowing when to be aggressive. You're very far away, my friend. You're not close.
A matter of us just
Gotta
doing
change
what
it.
we're supposed to do. We'll be just fine.
Well, what you're supposed to do is you got to clean that up, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
There you go. That's DeMeco. We'll hear from CJ in a second and what he had to say. It is the Locker Room post-game show. SNL tomorrow. We'll be live before the NFL games, myself and Cody Stutes. I'm going to kick it to Cody Stutes after this. He's going to be live. Subscribe to SNL on all podcast platforms. Texans lose, season over. I was glad that DeMeco said that, I don't feel like proud and all that. Like, you're proud of your squad, whatever, but you move on to the next thing. They got to figure some stuff out on offense. Period, point blank, in the story. In every level. They got to figure it out. Brandon says there's a lot of buddy stuff going on behind the scene. Don't know what that means. Maybe you're talking about the coaching. Kevin Smith says DeMeco actually calling out the O-line, their lack of ability to block. Amazing. Boyd is a tool. DeMeco is pissed. You can tell. Yeah, someone said he was smiling. I thought it was like more like a pissed off smile. I didn't think it was like smiling. He's not going to flip the table over. That's not DeMeco. He's a good coach, man. This is a pivotal year for DeMeco. He's going to have to figure something out. He's not going to call his guys out. Calling out the offensive line now, he doesn't have to have them anymore. So they're going to have to improve there. They're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to learn how to function on offense. You're talking about love. You're talking about the draft. Look, I don't even like, what pick do they even have? That's what I want to know. What pick do they even have? I'm not sure. Who cares right now at this point? We'll get to that. Eventually, they need offensive skill guys. So, Daniel A says season over. So Ryans is saying everything he felt like he couldn't say throughout the year. Yeah, he was overly protective. The Chris Boyd thing I think is interesting because I don't know how you didn't see him push Frank Ross. Like, did anyone tell you? Frank is the kind of guy that might let that type of thing go. Texans, by the way, it looks like they're going to have the 25th pick in the draft. Nathan says this team was so overrated. Our offense should not be worse than last year. Overrated by who? Like, what do you mean they're overrated? I don't think anyone expected them to beat the Chiefs today. I don't think most people didn't expect them to beat the Chargers. We knew the offense sucked. We knew the offensive line sucked. We knew the division sucked. Who's overrating this team? I feel like there's a decent pulse of them. I don't feel them getting like a ton of love. So I don't know about overrated. I think we got a pretty good grasp of it. Michael says, thanks for everything you do. You keep me in the know from Japan, off court. Offensive coordinator needs to go. Shout out to Japan, man. We've had Germany. We've had Japan. Got people all over the place, man. That's the fun stuff. Let's hear from CJ, and then we'll get back to some more of the comments, and then we'll kick it over to Stutes. Let's hear from CJ. They don't have the mics on, so the questions are going to be a little bit off. A lot of answers. He's not.
Damn it, Bobby.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have to play behind this offensive line again, but y'all got to get it together. Hopefully you don't have to play behind this line again. So that's a lot similar. Is defense coming back next year? Yeah, they're pretty good contract wise. They're going to have to extend Stingley, but he's under contract. Yeah, defensive wise, they're pretty straight. They're pretty set. Whose opinion that is? Okay.
You know, but it was
I'm
I had
tripping on
banged
the
my knee,
CJ
but
stuff. I got
it doesn't
lost.
really matter anymore. I'm
Go
fine. I'll
back
be
on
okay.
CJ.
Thank you
That's
for
just
asking.
me looking like a dope. Back to CJ. Remix. That's on me. We'll go back to CJ in a sec. That's on me.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
you
on
know,
this
we come out,
Washington game. That's on me.
had an 18
I'm
play
also
drive,
on
just
that.
the resilience of, you know, our
High
team to,
grade
you know,
marijuana
blow a
called
hole
Kush
and
on the street.
go through some penalties and things like that to, you know, stay on the field and then get a touchdown was huge. And after that, just had a backed up situation on, you know, went 3-and-out, which was tough. You know, had a couple of times where they just blitzed us and, you know, it was hard to get the ball out, you know, not a lot of answers. So, yeah, they did a good job.
Got to be better.
Spags is a great coordinator, you know, so he knows what he's doing and called a good game. And, you know, so we got to be better and, you know, just not going backwards, I would say was the main thing.
Got to be better. Bo on the soup. If they change coordinator, give us a time frame when they would do that.
2 different years, man. It's not similar. Yeah.
Yeah, he says it's not. He says it's a lot similar. CJ, the time frame, I don't know. It changes. It varies. Who knows? I don't know that they're going to do it. I mean, they give Shaq Mason his starting job back. You think they're going to get rid of an OC? Fair to know. CJ actually on the screen now. Mark Sanchez better use both first picks on the O line. I don't know.
I mean, that's your opinion. You know, I think, you know, our team has been resilient all year. We've been battling tough scenarios and injuries and some of our best players going out week to week. So not making excuses, but just being, you know, just honest. So, you know, I think this has been one of the most resilient football teams I've been a part of. You know, next guy stepping up and playing as good as you can. You know, it's not always perfect. So, you know, last year, I honestly don't remember. You know, this year I was a clean slate. You know, it's not about the back end of the year. It's really about, you know, we had a good game against the Chargers, and you know, I think for me, I learned like you can never relax, and that's something that I don't personally try to do. Is just because you beat, you know, a playoff team, the next team is probably going to be even harder going into the playoffs, and that's probably something I can learn from last year to this year. Was both years where, you know, win a good game, play at home, have a heck of a game, and then go on and you play a better team, and, you know, got to be on your A game.
It's a fact. 100% fact.
Yeah, I was fine. You know, it warmed up. That part of the field was like a hard rock. You know, it was. But it was. I had banged my knee, but it doesn't really matter anymore. I'm fine. I'll be okay. Thank you for asking.
He needs a rest, man. I don't think he's going to be as in high demand as last year. So if you're worried about the podcast thing, I don't think there's going to be as many requests.
I think we grew tremendously. I would say as a collective, and definitely me personally, like, man, this year has been, you know, some ups and downs, and I'm grateful for it all. You know, it's hard to learn on the mountaintop. You know, the wilderness and the valleys where you get your learning experiences, and you know, God is teaching you things at that time. And for me, you know, this year has been, you know, one of those tough years. So I learned more than ever, you know, and more that and my rock is Jesus Christ. And that's it. So whenever I hit my rock bottom, I know I can lean on him. So for me, that's what I learned this year. And still to have another playoff win. And so there's a lot of things to hold your head up high for. You know, I'm not going to hold my head down, but at the same time, you know, it sucks to come out here and lose, you know, in a division round again. But, you know, I'm super grateful for, you know, the tough and good times.
CJ Stroud, live. Shane said, I hope CJ spends his offseason resting and recovering. No celebrity all-star game for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth, you know. I think on both sides you have tough plays in a series or in a game. It's whoever comes out on top of those things. The NFL, both teams are going to make plays, and then it is who can withstand to the fourth quarter and win the game in the fourth, and especially in these playoff games. So, you know, a lot of times you're not just running away from it in the beginning. But that's something that I think DeMeco's right on that, is like we can't continue to shoot ourselves in the foot and then not overcome it and then expect to win. You have to overcome those things because they're bound to happen. Things happen in the NFL, especially in the playoffs. What I'm learning is just, it's not perfectly what you draw up. You have to just go out and make plays. And, I think the more plays you make, the better chance you give yourself to win the game.
That's true. More plays, better chance. Fact.
Yeah, those things are tough. I'm not going to go back and forth on what I thought was a call, what I thought wasn't a call.
You're back.
It's one of those things you kind of know what's up before you even walk in the arena.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
We got to be better and just being accountable and sound. And
you know what's up before you walk in the arena. That goes back to expected, unexpected, which is how we started this. You expect the Chiefs to get favorable calls. They got it. You expect it when you go into the arena. He said it without even really saying it. Fact.
Some things, I think we had a couple calls that weren't called that I'm begging for, but at the same time, it is what it is. Like I can't argue with the ref and at the same time play football. I got to go and do my job. So, I would say, it's definitely some things that I would question, but at the same time, they're the professionals. They're getting paid to be refs, and they did ultimately their best. And but this kind of thing, it's us against the world. When you're playing in these type of environments and games.
Yeah, Chiefs. Man, it's amazing how they get that wisdom.
Yeah, for sure. It's anything in life, things knock you up. That don't break you. They make you a lot tougher. And for me, I'm learning just to be resilient with everything. And I think those tough times on the field for me definitely is going to pay off in the long run. I'm excited because if this is a down year and another playoff win, play against a great Chiefs team and compete with them. And I'm not saying I'm happy with it, but I'm definitely encouraged and motivated that there's more for the Texans, on the other side of the hump.
MHW8 Nation, Nick has a lot of work to do this offseason, no doubt, on the offense for sure. No doubt. 1%
compete. It's one thing that Coach Day taught me when I was in college was like, these type of games, man, it ain't gonna be perfect. I might call up the perfect play. The dude might be wide open, but you gotta go make a play for me and make somebody miss, do something. And so for me, I just being a competitor, trying to put my team, in positions to win. And there's times where I probably shouldn't have done that and just thrown the ball. And so it's a balance. And I think I try my best to do that today. And I think I made a lot of plays in general. So I kind of carry that from college.
It's a long one. He's thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm super proud of, Mitch, Hutch, Jay Wayne, Neek stepped up as a leader this year, and we needed that. And solidified himself as a top receiver in his league, and the guys around him did great. I thought, Dalton, held his own. Of course, like Cade going out, but Cade was holding his own all the way until last week. We've been battling, man. It's not been easy, but at the same time, that's ball though. Like a lot of teams are hurt right now and just figuring it out. So, but I'm super proud of those guys stepping up, and I'm can't wait to get Tank back on the field. Keep him in your prayers, of course, and Steph will be back on the field soon.
Wow.
And, hopefully it's with us. So, I'm still hopeful. I get to play with those guys, and can't wait for it.
There you go.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, there you go. CJ Stroud, for real that time, not the offsides that I had earlier. Mind Over Chatter says Jesus don't care about football. I don't know what that means. I mean, CJ is a man of faith. That's his thing. Not whether they win or lose. That's what he does. I don't know if Jesus cares about football or not. I don't know if he thinks that Jesus cares about football or not. I think he just cares about. That's just kind of his thing. But yeah, don't know. Haven't asked God if he likes football. I think he might like it a little bit. You think God's watching Washington and Detroit right now? Pretty good game. Washington's up top on top 10-7. Wow, a functioning offense. They've actually missed a fourth down conversion too. And you know what? When they go for it on fourth down, they line up with 15, 20 seconds left. Cliff Kingsbury knows what he's doing. Oh, the Texans talked to him before Bobby Slowick. Okay. Always goes back to that, doesn't it?
Damn it, Bobby.
Damn. Damn shame. Damn shame. what they did to that guy. I'm not trying to like start a religious war. I just said Jesus doesn't care about football. I don't know. CJ does that whether they win or lose. It's a Jesus thing. If you're not a believer, if you are, I am. I'm a man of faith. I am a believer, but if you don't think he cares about it, that's all good. Bottom line, refs, poor special teams play, just a ass backward functioning offense. Poor coverage by Azeez Al-Shire in the Texan season. Expected, unexpected is the theme. And that's just really the bottom line about how that thing went. They're going to have to figure out what they want to do on offense. They're going to have to figure out how to fix that offense. They're going to have to figure out a lot of things in that area. But that's just really what went down. And that's how it went down for the Texans today. I anticipated having some versions of that conversation. I'll be honest with you. I talked with Stutz about this at the beginning. I talked about how, or in the middle of the season, I was kind of a little bit nervous about Fairbairn. But if you would have told me special teams would have been one of the biggest issues, I would have been a little bit surprised for sure. Although at certain times, like at the start of the season, it did happen. I just put the link down for Cody Stutz's live. He's going to be live. SNL will be live tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes. Season ain't over for us. This is actually where it gets more fun. We actually put out more content in the offseason. That's where we separate ourselves. We separate ourselves during the season because we're on the scene, top radio host in town, top written word / successful radio with Cody Stutz, and the best in the digital game, the collaboration. So that only continues, and we'll figure that out. Jared Wayne should be banned in Houston. Avenue Central says, man, I don't know what kind of cleats he was wearing. He looked like he was wearing slides out there. Landry, you got to get back in the loop, sir. Lopez can go fishing forever. Cue the fake laugh, LOL. I don't see how someone fake laughs that much, but yeah, I don't know. They're not trying to do good radio there. They just got people lingering and stuff like that. They also got some finance problems. Shout out to the Bull, though. They shouldn't have got rid of the Bull morning show. I thought that was a little bit more ridiculous. My life's actually better since leaving there, but the Bull getting rid of that was pretty weak. I digress. Only brought it up because it was on the super chat. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. I appreciate y'all for coming through. And always remember we're all in this together. Appreciate y'all. Bye-bye.